It hadn't been this type of sun all summer. Every day was either scorching hot that the birds spoke of it to their children's chicks, or plagued by clouds and winds that couldn't rent a room and introduced themselves months before they were welcome, but that day was different. Clear blue sky crowned in the middle by a mild sun, sharing its warmth to the masses, forgetting its anger of days past. He thought they truly chose the perfect day to go to the beach. The road was easy and fun, music and conversations made it a breeze. The more he got close to the beach, the more he felt it, the unique fresh smell, the cold winds sweeping away to the tones of the waves slamming against each other and against the rocks. Coupled with that is the good old butterflies in his stomach, remnants from the days of his intrusive thoughts about drowning which mean nothing, but they still do, and memories of his father forcing him to go, but that's fading away now. After all, he's free from that, he's his own person going on his own accord. With the first touch of the water, it was ice cold. He got the inclination to leave, but he'd been through this many times. 5 minutes later, and he couldn't fathom leaving the pleasant hug of the water. He and his friends knew that he wasn't the best of swimmers, so they kept it safe. They stuck close to the shore and continued chatting and playing games. He would try to float from time to time to experience it as regular people too. But he quickly got reminded that he's too anxious for that, seeing how his friends were free. Some frustration built in within him, so they decided to go a bit further but not too far. He was still able to comfortably stand above the waterline. After a little while, he caught himself drifting in his thinking, wondering why he worried so much. People do everything all the time, and yet he thought about a million things for each of their one. He must be mistaken. He turned back to reality and thought about changing it, even if it's by a little, and for the first time in what felt like his entire lifetime, he decided to disregard his thoughts and caution and just do something, and submerged himself. He opened his eyes after moments and saw what was lying underneath. It wasn't the most mind-blowing thing, but more importantly, it was freeing. He felt that the 10 seconds he spent under were enough for a first and decided to get back up for now. After all, he understands breathing air way more than water, and so he stood back up to get his head out. And at that moment, his world flipped upside down. It felt like he hit a plastic film wall, and water tension refused to break, as if the sea said, "You dare to enter, now you're never going to leave." He tried to struggle, the mental more than physical. His mind tried so hard to justify what was happening as pathetically human as possible. He wished he was dreaming and forgot he napped. He wished it was one of his friends was playing a game with him. But no mortal can play these games. He tried to squirm, push through, and scream, but he was unheard. Rocks around him were unturned, and even the fish around him were unperturbed, looking at him like a fool who didn't know the most of basics. But after all, he was a realist. He tried everything he had and couldn't escape. He couldn't believe this was how it came to an end. He always thought he'd go trying to get into something, not out of it. How ironic. With a sarcastic smile, he let go, his arms now waving away, his body horizontal. In his panic, he didn't realize how far he drifted from where he was. He couldn't even stand above now, but how would that matter anyway? He closed his eyes as he let the water into his lungs for a final rest. And nothing got in. See, as he struggled, he forgot that he was outlasted his held breath. His max was 3 minutes. He's been here for 15 and counting. He couldn't understand what was happening or why. But then again, the water didn't let him out, so why would any of this make sense? He looked back once at the shore, the place from where he once came, knowing full well he might never be able to be back. He refused to ponder it too long. It was clear that this was no longer for his mind. And so he walked away, not knowing where he was heading. Now with water as his air and the horizon as his roof, he saw and continued to see wonders of the sea, wandering with no purpose. Through his strolls, he once found a pen and paper. He saw too much to question why they were still usable, so he wrote about what had happened, or at least what he could remember. It's been too long. He isn't even sure it's him at this point. He only remembers. From back then, he put the message in a bottle, and it continues to float through the ocean of uncertainty. Maybe one day it finds someone. He doesn't wish for help. He knows he's beyond it, but he does enjoy a good story.